I never thought family could turn so vicious until I found my 8-year-old son, Tommy, locked in my sister's basement, scratching at the door like a trapped animal. The smell of mold hit me first. Then I saw the broken glass scattered across the concrete floor where he could have been seriously hurt. My 15-year-old nephew Derek stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, wearing that smug expression I'd learned to hate. When I demanded to know what happened, he shrugged and said those words that still echo in my mind. Let him learn his place. My sister Angela watched from her kitchen window, doing absolutely nothing to help. I unlocked that basement door with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, pulling Tommy into my arms as he sobbed against my chest. His little body trembled, and I could feel his heart racing through his Superman t-shirt. The way he clung to me broke something inside my chest that I wasn't sure would ever heal properly. Derek, what the hell were you thinking? I kept my voice steady, but inside I was screaming. My nephew just rolled his eyes like locking a child in a basement was some minor inconvenience. Angela finally came outside, wiping her hands on a dish towel like nothing had happened. Oh, Harold, you're being dramatic again. Boys will be boys. Tommy probably did something to provoke Derek. I stared at my sister in disbelief. He locked an 8-year-old in a moldy basement with broken glass on the floor. How exactly does a second grader provoke that? Maybe by being so sensitive all the time, Derek muttered, picking at his fingernails. Kid needs to toughen up if he wants to hang with the family. That's when our mother, Patricia's Buick, pulled into the driveway. I should have known Angela had called for backup the moment she saw me getting upset. Mom climbed out wearing her Sunday best, despite it being a Tuesday afternoon, which meant she'd prepared for this confrontation. Harold, what's all this fuss about? Mom asked, not even glancing at Tommy, who was still pressed against my side. Your grandson locked my son in the basement and told him to learn his place. I think that warrants some fuss, don't you? Mom's expression hardened. Derek is a good boy. Maybe Tommy needs to understand family hierarchy. Derek's older, he's been part of this family longer. I felt like I was losing my mind. Family hierarchy. Mom, he's 15. Tommy's 8. There shouldn't be any hierarchy that involves locking children in basements. Angela crossed her arms, mirroring her son's defiant posture. You've always been too soft on Tommy. That's what happens when you raise a kid without proper discipline. Maybe if you hadn't gotten divorced and broken up your family, Tommy would know how to behave around his cousins. The words hit like a physical blow. My divorce from Jessica had been painful enough without my family throwing it in my face every chance they got. My divorce has nothing to do with Derek being a bully. Derek's not a bully, Mom snapped. He's showing leadership, something you could learn from him. Derek smirked, clearly enjoying the support. Told you he'd overreact, Grandma. Uncle Harold always makes everything about him. I looked around at their faces, searching for even a hint of concern for Tommy's well-being. Instead, I saw a united front against me and my son. So let me get this straight. Derek locks Tommy in a basement, and somehow I'm the problem. You're making a mountain out of a molehill, Angela said. Kids play rough sometimes. Derek was just teaching Tommy about respect. By terrorizing him, Mom pulled out her phone. Jessica needs to hear this. Maybe she can talk some sense into you. Before I could protest, she dialed my ex-wife's number and put it on speaker. Jessica's voice came through tinny and tired. What's going on, Patricia? Harold's having another one of his dramatic episodes, Mom said. Derek was playing with Tommy, and now Harold's acting like it's the end of the world. Playing I couldn't keep quiet. Jessica Derek locked Tommy in Angela's basement. There was broken glass down there. Tommy was crying and scared. There was a long pause. Is Tommy hurt? No, but that's not the point. Then maybe you should calm down, Jessica said, and I heard her sigh. You know how you get when you're stressed about work? I felt completely alone. Even my ex-wife was taking their side. This isn't about work stress. This is about our son being mistreated. Tommy's fine, Angela said into the phone. Derek's just trying to help him grow up. Boys need to learn to be tough. Derek nodded enthusiastically. I was trying to help him, Uncle Harold. He kept following me around and bothering my friends. I just wanted him to chill out for a while. In a locked basement, it was just the storage room, Derek said, but his eyes shifted away from mine. He could have yelled if he really needed something. He was yelling, I said. That's how I found him. Mom stepped closer, her voice dropping to that tone she used when she wanted to end an argument. Harold, you need to stop coddling that boy. Derek's 15, he's practically an adult. He knows what he's doing. Maybe you should trust him instead of always assuming the worst. I looked down at Tommy, who was listening to every word. His big brown eyes held a confusion that no 8-year-old should have to carry. Come on, buddy, we're going home. Already, Angela asked. We haven't even had dinner yet. I think we've had enough family time for one day. As I buckled Tommy into his car seat, Mom appeared at my window. Harold, you need to think about what's best for Tommy's future. Derek's going places. He's got opportunities. Maybe Tommy could learn something from him if you'd stop being so protective. That's when she dropped the bomb that changed everything. Derek's the real grandson Harold. He represents this family's future, not some broken home child. I've been funding his private school, his college prep courses, his future. When I'm gone, Derek will inherit the farm and the business. All of it. $2.3 million in assets, Harold. Maybe you should think about that before you burn bridges. I stared at her through the window, processing what she'd just told me. You're rewriting your will. Already did. Derek gets everything. He's earned it by being the kind of grandson I can be proud of. Derek appeared beside her, no longer trying to hide his satisfaction. Thanks, Grandma. I won't let the family down. As I drove away, Tommy was quiet in the back seat. Finally, he asked, Daddy, why does Derek hate me? I didn't have an answer that would make sense to an 8-year-old. How do you explain that sometimes families turn toxic without the child thinking it's his fault? That night as I tucked Tommy into bed, he looked up at me with those trusting eyes. Are we not real family, Daddy? We're the realest family there is, buddy, just you and me. But even as I said it, I felt the ground shifting beneath my feet, like everything I'd believed about my family was built on sand. Tommy fell asleep, clutching his stuffed elephant. But I could see the tension in his small shoulders, even in sleep. I sat in my living room, replaying the day's events, trying to make sense of how my family had turned so cold toward my son. My phone buzzed, a group text from Mom to the entire family chat. We're cutting you off as a family. Stay away forever. I stared at the message, reading it 3 times before it sank in. 32 years of being Patricia Morrison's son erased with a text message. Almost immediately, Angela's name appeared with a thumbs-up reaction. Then she added her own message, finally some peace. My cousin Mark chimed in, about time. Harold's always been the drama queen of the family. Then Sarah, remember when he cried at Dad's funeral, so embarrassing. David added, Derek's twice the man Harold will ever be. I watched my phone light up with message after message, each one more brutal than the last. These were people who'd been at my wedding, who'd held Tommy as a baby, who'd shared Christmas dinners and birthday parties with us. Angela sent a photo of Derek holding his acceptance letter to some summer program. This is what a real Morrison looks like. Proud of my son. Mom replied with heart emojis. Derek makes me proud every day. I set my phone down, my hands shaking again. 20 minutes later, I picked it up to find 17 more messages, all attacking my character, my parenting, my divorce, my job, my appearance. They were picking apart 32 years of my life like vultures. Then Angela sent something that made my blood run cold. Screenshots of private conversations I'd had with her over the past 6 months. Conversations where I'd expressed worry about Tommy adjusting to the divorce, where I'd admitted feeling overwhelmed sometimes, where I'd confided my fears about being a single father. She'd captioned them. Harold's been manipulating the family for sympathy while bad-mouthing all of us behind our backs. The screenshots were edited. Words taken out of context, conversations, spliced together to make me look unstable and vindictive. Messages where I'd asked for advice about Tommy's behavior after the divorce were presented as evidence that I couldn't handle being a parent. My cousin Sarah responded, "I knew something was off about Harold. This proves it." Mark added, "Derek told me Harold's been making Tommy scared of the family. No wonder the kid's so weird." I realized Angela had been planning this for months, recording our conversations, saving our text exchanges, building a case against me while I thought we were just talking as siblings. My phone rang. Derek's number. Uncle Harold. His voice was different, now confident in a way that made my skin crawl. "Grandma wanted me to call and let you know that we're blocking you on all social media. And I told all my friends' parents about how you've been acting toward our family. You know, for Tommy's sake. Kids at school need to know what kind of father he has." "Derek, what are you talking about?" "I made a social media account for Tommy, posted some stuff about how he acts at family gatherings. You know, the tantrums, the crying, the way he bothers everyone. I thought his classmates' parents should see what he's really like." My heart stopped. "You created fake social media accounts for my son." "It's not fake. It's just showing people who Tommy really is when you're not around to cover for him." My mom helped me write the posts. We made sure they sounded like something an 8-year-old would say. I hung up and immediately searched for Tommy's name on social media. There it was. A Facebook profile with Tommy's school photo posts written in childish language about being mean to my cousin and not listening to my family. The posts were designed to make Tommy look like a disturbed child who couldn't get along with other kids. They'd tagged parents from his school, his teacher, even some of the kids in his class. Comments were already appearing from people I didn't recognize expressing concern about Tommy's behavioral issues. One post read, "I was really mean to Derek today. He was just trying to help me be a better kid, but I got mad and started crying. My daddy always takes my side even when I'm wrong. I wish I could be good like Derek." Another, "Sometimes I lie about what Derek does because I want attention. Derek is really nice to me, but I make up stories about him being mean. I don't know why I do it." The posts were time-stamped throughout the past month, creating a narrative that Derek had been patient with Tommy, while Tommy had been increasingly difficult and dishonest. I screenshotted everything before they could delete it, my mind racing. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was a calculated attempt to destroy my son's reputation and relationships. I called Angela directly. What she answered on the first ring: "Delete the fake social media profile of Tommy right now." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Derek told me you helped him create it. Delete it now, Angela, or I'm calling the police." She laughed. "For what? Derek's just sharing his experiences with his cousin. Freedom of speech, Harold." "It's impersonation of a minor. It's harassment. It's probably illegal in about 10 different ways." "Prove it was us," she said. Derek's not the only one who's noticed Tommy's behavior problems. I could hear Derek in the background coaching her. "Tell him about the recordings." "Recordings?" Angela's voice turned smug. "I've been recording our conversations for months, Harold. Every time you complained about work, every time you said something negative about the family, every time you admitted you couldn't handle being a single parent, I have hours of evidence that you're an unfit father. Those were private conversations between siblings. And now they're evidence. I've already sent copies to Jessica's lawyer. Maybe it's time Tommy lived with his mother full time." The line went dead. I sat in my dark living room, understanding for the first time that this wasn't just about Derek's behavior in the basement. This was a coordinated attack designed to destroy my relationship with my son and isolate us from everyone we knew. My phone buzzed again, another group message. "Mom, Derek showed me Tommy's social media posts. That child needs professional help. Mark, Harold's clearly not equipped to handle a troubled kid. Sarah, maybe Jessica should get full custody." I turned my phone face down and went to check on Tommy. He was still sleeping, completely unaware that his extended family had just declared war on his childhood. For the first time since my divorce, I felt truly alone in the world. I spent the rest of that night documenting everything. Screenshots of the fake social media profile recordings of Derek's phone call, copies of all the family group messages. By 4 in the morning, I'd built a comprehensive file of evidence. Then I opened my laptop and began typing the response that would change everything, detaching from every financial obligation at dawn. I sent it to the family group chat and immediately began making the phone calls I should have made years ago. First, call my bank to stop all automatic transfers to Angela's accounts. Second, call Derek's private school to remove my name from the authorized payment list. Third, call Mom's medical billing service to cancel the credit card on file for her treatments. Fourth, call my lawyer cousin Brandon from my father's side of the family, who'd been telling me for years that I was being taken advantage of. Harold, it's 5 in the morning. I need your help, Brandon. My family just declared war on me and Tommy. What kind of war? I explained everything while Brandon made coffee and pulled up files on his computer. When I finished, there was a long silence. Harold, how much money have you been giving them? I don't know, a lot. Angela's mortgage, Derek's school, Mom's medical bills, the farm maintenance, whatever they needed. Give me specific numbers. I pulled up my banking app while Brandon waited. The numbers made me sick. Angela's mortgage, $800 a month for 3 years. That's $28,800. Keep going. Derek's private school, $18,000 a year for 4 years, $72,000. More. Mom's medical bills, probably $15,000 over the past 2 years. Angela's car payments, another $12,000. Emergency loans to Carl when he was between jobs, about $8,000. Brandon was typing. That's over $135,000, Harold, in just the past few years. It's family. That's what you do for family. No, Harold. That's what you do for people who appreciate you. What did you get in return? I thought about Derek locking Tommy in the basement, about Angela's smug face, about Mom rewriting her will to cut us out completely. Nothing. I got nothing. Actually, that's not true. Pull up the documents I helped you file when Dad died. I found the folder on my computer. My father had left me 40% of the Morrison family farm through a complicated inheritance structure that protected it from creditors and ensured it stayed in the family. Harold, you own almost half of everything they're living on. The farmland, the main house, the business operations. Your signature is required for any major financial decisions. But Mom controls everything, only as long as you let her. And there's something else. I need you to check your credit report right now. I pulled up my credit monitoring app. My score had dropped 60 points in the past year. Brandon, there are loans here I never applied for. Read them to me. Home equity line of credit for $200,000. Agricultural equipment loan for $45,000. Business expansion loan for $60,000. Harold, someone's been using your name and social security number. Those loans are against the farm property, which means what? Which means Angela's been forging your signature. You're legally responsible for over $300,000 in debt that you never authorized. I felt dizzy. How is that possible? You gave her power of attorney when Mom was in the hospital 2 years ago, remember, for emergencies. Angela's been using it to sign documents in your name. Can she do that? Absolutely not. That's identity theft, bank fraud, and probably a dozen other felonies. I pulled up Derek's school records online. There was a scholarship listed under Harold Morrison Academic Excellence Fund. I'd never heard of it. Brandon, there's a scholarship in my name at Derek's school. I never set that up. How much? $50,000 over 4 years. Harold, Angela's been committing financial crimes using your identity for years. And now she's trying to cut you out of the family so you won't discover what she's done. But why would she risk it? Because she never thought you'd fight back. She thought you'd just disappear quietly and keep paying the bills from a distance. I thought about Derek's smug expression, about Angela's confidence when she defended him. They'd planned this whole thing knowing I was financing their lifestyle while they destroyed my son's reputation. What do? First, we document everything. Then we contact the police. This isn't a family dispute anymore, Harold. This is organized financial crime. I hung up and sat in my kitchen as the sun came up, finally understanding the scope of what had been done to me. My family hadn't just attacked Tommy and me emotionally. They'd been systematically stealing from us for years. My phone started buzzing, Angela's number. I let it go to voicemail, then it rang again. Mom's number, then Carl's, then Derek's. By 7 in the morning, I had 11 missed calls and 15 text messages, all variations of, "We need to talk and don't do anything crazy." But it was too late for talking. I was already getting dressed to meet with Brandon and start the process of taking back everything they'd stolen from me and my son. For the first time in years, I felt like I had some power in this situation. By 9 that evening, my phone had become a weapon of mass destruction in my living room. 57 missed calls and counting, the voicemails were getting more desperate by the hour. Angela's first call at 8:15. "Harold, please call me back. We can work this out like adults." Her fifth call at 9:30. "You're being ridiculous. You can't just cut off the family because you're mad about Derek playing with Tommy." Her 12th call at 10:45. "Harold, I'm serious. Call me back right now or I'm calling the police for welfare check." But it was Carl's call that really revealed how desperate they'd become. "Harold, it's Carl. Look, man, I know things got heated today, but you can't just abandon your family. Angela's been crying all day. She's talking about losing the house. Derek's worried about school. Your mom's having chest pains and asking for you." I saved that voicemail. Carl admitting Angela was worried about losing the house was basically a confession that my money was keeping them afloat. At 10 minutes past 11, Derek's school called my work number, which they somehow obtained. "Mr. Morrison, this is Linda Chen from Westfield Academy. We've been trying to reach you about Derek Morrison's account. The tuition payment scheduled for tomorrow was declined, and we need to discuss payment arrangements." Derek Morrison isn't my son, but you're listed as the primary financial guarantor for his academic scholarship fund. I never authorized any scholarship fund. There was a pause. "Sir, we have documentation with your signature establishing the Harold Morrison Academic Excellence Fund specifically for Derek Morrison's education." "Ma'am, someone forged my signature. I'll be contacting you tomorrow with my attorney." Oh my. "Sir, if this is unauthorized, we need to involve our legal department immediately." I hung up and immediately called Brandon. "They're panicking," I told him. "The school just called about Derek's tuition being declined." "Good. Panic makes people make mistakes." "Are you recording the calls?" "Every single one." Mom called at 11:23. Her voice was shaky, older than I'd ever heard it. "Harold, sweetheart, please come home. I'm having chest pains and I need my son." For a moment, I wavered. Then I remembered her words from earlier. Derek's the real grandson. "Mom, if you're having chest pains, you should call 911, not me." "I don't need an ambulance. I need my family." "You told me today that Derek was your real grandson and that I was cut off from the family forever." I was upset. You know how I get when there's conflict in the family. "No, Mom, you were very clear. Derek gets everything. Tommy and I are not real family." "I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did. And you meant it when you rewrote your will too." There was silence. Then, "How do you know about the will?" "You told me, remember right before you explained that Derek represents the family's future and Tommy's just some broken home child." "Harold, I need you to understand. Angela's been helping me with the finances. I haven't been thinking clearly lately." That was the first crack in their story. I pressed harder. "What do you mean not thinking clearly?" "I forget things sometimes. Angela handles the bills and the paperwork. She tells me what needs to be signed." "What kind of things do you forget, Mom?" "I don't remember our conversation today very well. Angela told me you were being unreasonable about Derek, but I can't remember exactly what happened." My heart sank. "Mom, how long have you been having memory problems?" "Angela says it's just stress from getting older. She takes care of everything so I don't have to worry." I hung up and immediately called Brandon back. "I think Mom might have dementia. She doesn't remember half of what happened today." "Harold, if your mother has diminished capacity, any financial decision she's made recently could be invalid. including the will, including everything. Angela might have been taking advantage of an elderly person with cognitive decline. At 11:58, Angela showed up at my apartment building. I could hear her pounding on the front door from my third-floor apartment. "Harold, I know you're up there. We need to talk right now." I looked out my window. Her car was parked crooked across two parking spaces, the driver's door still open. She looked frantic, her hair messy, still wearing the same clothes from the barbecue. "Harold, you can't destroy this family over a misunderstanding." Mrs. Wilson from apartment 2B opened her door. "Excuse me, but it's almost midnight. Some of us have work tomorrow." "Mind your own business, lady. This is about family." "I'm calling the police if you don't lower your voice." Angela's voice cracked. "Harold, please. Derek needs his school. I can't afford the house payments. Mom needs her medications. You're going to destroy everything over a child's game that got out of hand." I opened my window. "Angela, go home." "Not until we talk face to face." "There's nothing to talk about." "Yes, there is. I know you're upset about the basement thing, but Derek's just a kid. He made a mistake." "You're going to tear apart the family over a mistake." "I'm not tearing apart anything. You did that when you forged my signature on loan documents." Even from 3 floors up, I could see her face go white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Home equity line of credit for $200,000. Ring any bells?" Angela looked around frantically like she was checking to see if anyone else was listening. "Harold, come down here. We can't discuss this in public." "We're not discussing anything. I'll see you in court." I closed the window and watched her stand in the parking lot for another 10 minutes talking on her phone, probably calling Derek or Carl or whoever else was part of this scheme. When she finally drove away, I checked my phone. 63 missed calls since the morning. My phone rang again. Unknown number. "Hello? Uncle Harold, it's Derek." "Derek, it's almost midnight." "I know, but I need to tell you something important. About the basement thing." I started recording. "What about it?" "It wasn't my idea." "I mean, it was. But Mom said if I could get Tommy to act up at the barbecue, she'd buy me the new gaming setup I wanted, the PlayStation 5, and the whole racing wheel setup." I sat down hard. "What?" "She said Tommy needed to learn about family hierarchy, and if I could teach him a lesson, it would help everyone understand why Derek's more important to Grandma's future plans." "Derek, are you telling me Angela paid you to bully Tommy?" "Not exactly paid. More like promised. She said if I could make Tommy look bad in front of Grandma, it would prove that your side of the family doesn't respect our traditions." "What traditions?" "I don't know. Mom just said that Grandma was reconsidering the will and that I needed to show I was the better grandson." I felt sick. "Derek, have you been recording this conversation?" "Yeah. Mom told me to call you and get you to admit that you've been poisoning Tommy against our family. But Harold, I need you to know something. I didn't want to lock him in the basement. I just wanted to hide him somewhere until Grandma saw him crying or something. But the basement door lock is broken and I couldn't get it open after I closed it." "What?" "The lock sticks from the outside. I was trying to let him out when you found us. I was scared he was going to get hurt down there, but I couldn't tell Mom because she'd be mad that I messed up her plan." I stared at my phone. Derek hadn't just locked Tommy in the basement on purpose. He'd trapped him there accidentally while trying to execute Angela's scheme to make Tommy look bad. "Derek, I need you to send me that recording." "I can't. Mom has my phone most of the time now. She's been checking all my messages and calls." "Then how are you calling me now?" "I'm using Carl's phone. He doesn't know." "Uncle Harold, I think I'm in trouble. Mom's been doing weird stuff with papers and she keeps talking about how she needs to protect Derek's future from people who want to hurt our family." "What kind of weird stuff?" "She has me sign things sometimes, like practice signatures for when I'm older. But the papers look like real documents." Derek had been helping Angela forge documents without even knowing it. "Derek, where are you right now?" "In my room." "But Uncle Harold, I need you to know something else. Tommy's not the problem. I was mean to him because Mom kept telling me he was trying to take my place in the family. She said his dad was a loser who couldn't take care of his kid properly and that you were using Tommy to manipulate Grandma's feelings. I closed my eyes. Angela had been poisoning Derek against Tommy for months, maybe years. Derek, are you safe at home? I think so. But Mom's been acting really weird since you left today. She's been on the phone all night crying sometimes, and Carl's talking about going to stay with his brother for a while. The line went quiet for a moment. Then Derek's voice smaller. Uncle Harold, I'm sorry about Tommy. I never wanted to hurt him. I just wanted Mom to be proud of me. I know Derek. Do you think Tommy will ever forgive me? I think Tommy would forgive you if you helped us fix this situation. How can I help? By telling the truth about what your mother asked you to do. Okay, but Uncle Harold, I'm scared about what's going to happen to Mom if I tell the truth. Derek, your mom needs help, professional help. What she's been doing isn't okay, and it's not your fault. After I hung up, I sat in my dark apartment, finally understanding the full scope of what Angela had done. She hadn't just been stealing money. She'd been manipulating a teenage boy into psychologically abusing my son, using their own family bonds as weapons. Tomorrow I was going to make sure she faced the consequences for all of it. I woke up at 6 a.m. to find 3 voicemails from Angela, 2 from Carl, and 1 from someone identifying themselves as Derek's school counselor. The counselor's message was the most alarming. Mr. Morrison, this is Janet Kelly from Westfield Academy. Derek Morrison came to my office this morning, very upset about a family situation. He mentioned concerns about financial irregularities and some troubling behaviors at home. Could you please call me at your earliest convenience? Derek had gone to his school for help. I called Brandon first. We need to move fast. Derek's talking to his school counselor. That's actually good, Harold. School counselors are mandated reporters. If Derek's telling them about Angela's behavior, they'll have to involve Child Protective Services. Is that what we want? If Angela's been manipulating Derek into abusing Tommy while committing financial fraud, then yes. Derek needs protection too. At 8:30, I walked into my office to find Angela sitting in the lobby with Derek. She'd dressed him in his school uniform and coached his posture into something resembling remorse. Harold, we need to talk, Angela announced loud enough for my coworkers to hear. Derek has something to say to you. Derek looked miserable. His eyes were red, and he kept glancing at Angela like he was afraid of making a mistake. I'm sorry for what I did to Tommy yesterday, Derek recited, clearly rehearsed. It was wrong to lock him in the basement. I was just playing, but I understand now that it was dangerous and mean. I promise it won't happen again. My boss, Jennifer, was watching from her office doorway. Angela had deliberately chosen a public space to force this confrontation, probably hoping I'd accept Derek's apology to avoid a scene. Derek, do you remember our phone conversation last night? Angela's grip on Derek's shoulder tightened. Derek doesn't remember much from last night. He was very upset and overtired. Children say all kinds of things when they're emotional. Derek, do you remember telling me that your mother promised to buy you a gaming setup if you made Tommy look bad at the barbecue? Derek's eyes went wide. Angela's face flushed red. Harold, you're putting words in that child's mouth. Derek never said any such thing. Actually, I recorded the conversation. The lobby went dead quiet. Jennifer stepped closer, clearly concerned about whatever family drama was unfolding in her workplace. Angela forced a laugh. Derek, tell Uncle Harold that you never said anything like that. Derek looked back and forth between us, tears starting to form. I don't want to lie anymore, Mom. You're not lying, sweetie. Uncle Harold's confused. No, Mom? I told him about the PlayStation. I told him about how you wanted me to make Tommy cry in front of Grandma. Angela's mask slipped completely. Derek, you don't know what you're talking about. You're confused. I'm not confused. I recorded our conversation too, Mom, on Carl's phone. The counselor at school has it. Angela looked like she'd been slapped. You did what? Derek pulled out a phone I didn't recognize. I sent the recording to Miss Kelly this morning. I also told her about the papers you have me sign and about how you've been listening to Uncle Harold's phone calls. Derek, you don't understand what you've done. Yes, I do. Miss Kelly explained it to me. She said adults aren't supposed to use kids to hurt other kids. And she said forging people's signatures is illegal. Jennifer cleared her throat. Harold, perhaps you and your family should continue this conversation somewhere more private. You're right, Jennifer. Angela, we're leaving. We're not done here, Angela said. Yes, we are. As we walked to the parking garage, Angela grabbed Derek's arm hard enough to make him wince. Derek, you have destroyed this family. Do you understand that you've destroyed everything I've worked for? Let go of him, I said. He's my son. And right now you're hurting him. Angela released Derek's arm but moved closer to him, her voice low and threatening. Derek, when we get home, you're going to call that school counselor and tell her you made everything up. You're going to say you were angry and you lied. I can't do that, Mom. Yes, you can. Because if you don't, we're going to lose everything. The house, your school, your future. Is that what you want us? Derek started crying. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Then fix this. Call the counselor and tell her you lied. That's when my ex-wife, Jessica, appeared from behind a car. I hadn't seen her arrive. Angela, step away from Derek right now. Angela spun around. Jessica, what are you doing here? Derek called me this morning. He's been trying to reach adults who could help him. Help him with what? With his mother manipulating him into abusing his cousin. Angela's voice rose an octave. That's not what happened. I have the recording, Angela. Derek sent it to me, too. Jessica moved between Angela and Derek. Derek, do you feel safe going home with your mother right now? Derek looked terrified. I don't know. That's enough, Angela snapped. Derek, get in the car. We're leaving. Actually, you're not. We all turned to see two police officers approaching. Behind them was a woman in a business suit who introduced herself as a social worker. Ma'am, we've received a report of potential child endangerment and financial fraud. We need to speak with Derek Morrison separately from his mother. Angela went pale. This is a family matter. Ma'am, when a minor reports being coerced into harmful behavior by a parent, it becomes a legal matter. Derek stepped closer to Jessica. Officer, I want to tell the truth about what my mom asked me to do to my cousin. And I want to tell you about the papers she has me sign. Derek, don't say another word, Angela commanded. The social worker knelt down to Derek's eye level. Derek, you're not in trouble. We just want to understand what's been happening at home. My mom told me to hurt my little cousin Tommy so that my grandma would think Tommy's dad was a bad father. She promised to buy me things if I made Tommy look bad. Angela looked around frantically like she was considering running. He's making this up. He's upset about being in trouble yesterday. Ma'am, we also have reports of possible identity theft and financial fraud. We'll need you to come with us to answer some questions. As they led Angela away, she turned back to Derek with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure rage. Derek, you have no idea what you've just done to our family. You've destroyed everything. Derek broke down completely, sobbing into Jessica's shoulder. I just wanted her to love me, like she loves the idea of me being perfect. The social worker stayed with Derek while Jessica and I talked with the police about the financial crimes and the fake social media profile. For the first time since this started, I felt like someone in authority was actually listening to what had happened to Tommy and Derek. But I also realized that Derek was as much a victim of Angela's manipulation as Tommy was. Maybe more because she'd used his love for her to turn him into someone he never wanted to be. Over the next 72 hours, Angela's carefully constructed web of lies unraveled completely. Derek stayed with Carl's brother while Child Protective Services investigated, and each day brought new revelations about the scope of Angela's manipulation. The police digital forensics team found Derek's recordings on 3 different devices. Not just the conversation with me, but months of audio where Angela coached him on how to make Tommy look unstable at family gatherings. When Tommy starts talking about his dad, you interrupt him and change the subject. Make it look like he can't focus. If Tommy gets excited about something, tell him he's being too loud. Make sure Grandma sees him getting upset when you correct him. Remember, Derek, Tommy's trying to take your place as the important grandson. Everything you do to keep him in line protects your future. Brandon called with updates from the financial investigation. Harold, it's worse than we thought. Angela opened a business credit line in your name 18 months ago. She's been using it to pay for Derek's extracurricular activities and her own personal expenses. How much? $85,000. And there's more. She applied for a home equity loan against the farm property using forged documents with your signature. The bank approved it because you already had substantial assets tied to the property. Where did the money go? Derek's private school, but not just tuition. She's been paying for premium meal plans, private tutoring, sports equipment, even a family vacation to Europe last summer that Derek thought was paid for by your mother. The bank records showed a pattern of financial abuse going back 3 years. Every time I'd given Angela money for an emergency, she'd been simultaneously accessing credit in my name for the same expenses. Derek's school counselor, Miss Kelly, provided the most disturbing evidence. Angela had been attending Derek's parent-teacher conferences and describing a family dynamic where Derek was being overshadowed by a troubled cousin who received preferential treatment. Angela told us that Derek was struggling academically because he was worried about his cousin's behavioral problems affecting the family, Miss Kelly explained. She said Derek felt responsible for helping his cousin adjust to his parents' divorce. Did Derek actually say any of this? No, in fact, Derek always spoke fondly of Tommy when they talked independently. But Angela would correct him in meetings saying that Derek was just being diplomatic, and that the situation at home was more serious than Derek wanted to admit. Angela had been rewriting Derek's feelings about Tommy in real time, convincing his teachers that Derek's natural affection for his younger cousin was actually psychological stress. The social worker assigned to Derek's case found evidence that Angela had been monitoring Derek's phone conversations and text messages, deleting any communication that didn't support her narrative about family dynamics. Derek showed us a folder on his mother's computer, the social worker explained. She'd been keeping detailed notes about conversations between Derek and other family members, looking for ways to use Derek's words to support her version of events. But the most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source. Carl, Angela's husband, provided investigators with financial documents that Angela had hidden from me. Carl called me directly. Harold, I need you to know that I never wanted to be part of this. Angela told me you were voluntarily supporting Derek's education because you felt guilty about your divorce affecting the family. What changed your mind? I found out she's been stealing from Derek, too. What do you mean? Derek's biological father has been sending child support payments for 10 years, $1,200 a month. Angela told me the payments stopped when Derek turned 13, but I found bank statements showing the payments are still coming. Derek's real father had been trying to contribute to his son's future, but Angela had been intercepting the money while telling Derek that his biological father didn't care about him. She's been depositing the child support into a separate account and using it to pay for things she told Derek were coming from your generosity. Derek thinks you've been funding his entire life, when really it's been his own father's money. The betrayal was staggering. Angela hadn't just stolen from me and manipulated Derek. She'd stolen Derek's relationship with his biological father and given me credit for support that was legally required. Derek's father, Robert, drove up from Phoenix when Carl contacted him. Robert had been trying to rebuild his relationship with Derek for years, but Angela had been intercepting his letters and blocking his phone calls. I've been sending Derek birthday cards and Christmas gifts for 8 years, Robert told the social worker. I thought Derek didn't want a relationship with me because he never responded to anything. Derek broke down when he learned the truth. I thought my real dad didn't want me. Mom said he stopped caring about me when he remarried. The fake social media profile led to even more criminal charges. The school district's digital safety officer found that Angela had created profiles for 3 other students using similar tactics, gathering information about children in Derek's class and creating fictional posts designed to make Derek look superior by comparison. It appears Derek's mother was running a systematic campaign to ensure Derek's social standing at school, the officer explained. She created fake drama between students to make Derek appear more mature and stable. Mom's condition became clearer when her doctor agreed to meet with the family court investigator. Patricia Morrison has been showing signs of moderate cognitive decline for at least 8 months. Her daughter has been bringing her to appointments and handling all communication with my office. Did Patricia understand the financial documents she was signing? Probably not. Angela always came prepared with explanations for why the documents were necessary, and Patricia trusted her daughter to handle details she couldn't process anymore. The new will leaving everything to Derek had been signed during one of Mom's worst cognitive periods. The lawyer who prepared it confirmed that Angela had scheduled the appointment and provided all the reasoning for the changes. Angela explained that Harold had been taking advantage of Patricia's generosity and that Derek needed protection as the family's future, the lawyer said. Patricia seemed confused but trusted Angela's judgment. By Thursday afternoon, the district attorney's office had enough evidence to file formal charges against Angela for identity theft, financial fraud, elder abuse, child endangerment, and cyberbullying. Derek was placed in temporary custody with Robert, who drove him to see Tommy for the first time since the basement incident. Tommy was nervous at first, but Derek came prepared with something I hadn't expected. "Tommy, I brought you something." Derek handed Tommy a handwritten letter. "It's an apology, but a real one this time. Not something my mom told me to say." Tommy read the letter slowly, his lips moving with each word. When he finished, he looked up at Derek with those trusting 8-year-old eyes. "Derek, do you really think I'm a good cousin?" "Tommy, you're the best cousin anyone could ask for. I'm sorry it took me so long to say that." Derek turned to me. "Uncle Harold, I need you to know that Tommy never did anything wrong. Ever. I made up all the stuff about him being difficult because I wanted my mom to think I was protecting the family. I know, Derek. And I need you to know something else. All those times Mom said you were manipulating Grandma or using Tommy to get attention, I knew it wasn't true. I could see how much you love Tommy and how hard you worked to take care of everyone. I was just scared that if I didn't agree with Mom, she'd stop loving me." Derek was 15 years old, and he'd been carrying the weight of his mother's manipulation for years, believing that his love from her was conditional on his willingness to hurt other people. "Derek, your mom needs help, professional help, and none of what she did was your fault." "I know. My counselor explained it to me. But Uncle Harold, I need to ask you something." "What's that? When this is all over, do you think Tommy and I could start over, like be real cousins, instead of whatever weird competition my mom set up?" Tommy answered before I could. "Derek, I never wanted to compete with you. I just wanted us to be friends." That evening, as I tucked Tommy into bed, he asked me the question I'd been dreading. "Daddy, is Aunt Angela going to jail?" "I don't know, buddy, but she's going to get help so she can learn to make better choices." "And Derek's going to live with his real dad?" "For now, yes." "Good. I think Derek will be happier with someone who doesn't tell him to be mean to people." Tommy was right. Derek was already seeming lighter, more like the kid I remembered from before Angela's manipulation took over his personality. "Daddy, are we going to be okay without Grandma Patricia's money?" "Tommy, we were never depending on Grandma's money. We're going to be just fine with what we have." "And Derek can still visit us sometimes. If he wants to and if his dad says it's okay." "I hope he does. I think Derek's really nice when no one's telling him to be mean." As I turned off Tommy's light, I realized my 8-year-old son had understood something that took me 32 years to learn. Family isn't about blood or money or inheritance. It's about people choosing to treat each other with kindness and respect. Angela had forgotten that. But Tommy and Derek were going to have the chance to build something real together without manipulation or competition or someone else's agenda driving their relationship. For the first time in years, I felt hopeful about what family could actually mean. 6 months later, I stood in a courthouse watching Angela accept a plea agreement that would change our family forever. She pleaded guilty to financial fraud, identity theft, elder abuse, and child endangerment in exchange for 2 years of supervised probation full restitution and mandatory counseling. The judge was not gentle in his assessment. Miss Morrison, you systematically abused the trust of multiple family members, manipulated a minor child into harmful behavior, and exploited an elderly person with cognitive decline. Your actions demonstrate a pattern of calculated deception that damaged relationships and traumatized children. Angela stood quietly, no longer the confident manipulator who'd orchestrated months of family destruction. Her lawyer had advised her to accept responsibility and show genuine remorse. Your Honor, I know I made terrible choices. I was scared about my family's financial future, and I convinced myself that I was protecting my son's interests. But I understand now that I was actually harming him and everyone else I claimed to care about. The restitution order was comprehensive. Angela had to repay every dollar she'd stolen plus interest and penalties. The total came to over $400,000, which would take her years to earn at the retail job she'd found after losing her position at the real estate office. But the money wasn't the most important part of the resolution. Derek had been living with his father, Robert, for 4 months, and the transformation was remarkable. Without Angela's constant coaching about family hierarchy and competition, Derek had rediscovered his natural kindness. He visited Tommy every other weekend, and their relationship was becoming something genuine. Uncle Harold. I never knew families could just hang out without anyone keeping score, Derek told me during one of his visits. Dad doesn't compare me to other kids or make me prove I deserve his attention. It's weird, but good weird. Derek was seeing a counselor who specialized in children who'd been manipulated by parents. The counselor explained that Derek would need time to develop his own opinions and preferences without wondering whether they were correct according to someone else's agenda. Derek's learning to trust his own instincts about relationships, the counselor told Robert and me. For years, his mother taught him that love was conditional on his willingness to compete with and diminish other children. He's having to relearn what healthy family bonds actually look like. The process wasn't always smooth. Derek sometimes fell back into patterns of trying to prove his worth by putting Tommy down. But now when it happened, Derek caught himself. Sorry, Tommy, that was my old programming talking. What I meant to say was that you're really good at building those Lego sets. Tommy, with the remarkable resilience of childhood, simply accepted Derek's efforts to change. It's okay, Derek. My counselor says it takes time to learn new ways of talking to people. Tommy had been seeing his own counselor to process the basement incident and the family upheaval that followed. The counselor helped him understand that Derek's previous behavior had nothing to do with Tommy's worth as a person. Sometimes adults teach kids the wrong things. Tommy explained to me after one of his sessions. Derek's mom taught him that being mean made him important. But Derek's learning that being kind makes him important instead. Mom's situation required delicate handling. Her dementia diagnosis meant she needed full-time care, and Angela was no longer in a position to provide it. I moved Mom into a memory care facility where she could receive proper medical attention and social interaction. On her good days, Mom remembered pieces of what had happened and expressed genuine remorse. Harold. I know I said terrible things about Tommy. I don't remember all of it, but I know I hurt you both. That wasn't the grandmother I wanted to be. Mom, you were confused. Angela took advantage of your condition. Still, I should have protected Tommy instead of letting anyone convince me he was less important than Derek. All my grandsons deserve equal love. Mom's lucid moments were becoming rarer, but I made sure Tommy spent time with her while she could still recognize him. She'd hold his hand and tell him stories about when I was his age, creating gentle memories that weren't poisoned by family politics. The farm and family business required significant reorganization. With Brandon's legal help, I discovered that I actually owned more of the operation than anyone had realized. My father had structured his inheritance to protect me from exactly the kind of manipulation Angela had attempted. Rather than exclude Derek from the family legacy out of spite, I established a trust fund for his education that he could access, when he turned 21, regardless of his relationship with Angela. Derek would have opportunities, but he'd earn them through his own choices, not through his mother's schemes. "Why would you do that for Derek after everything that happened?" Jessica asked when I explained the trust fund. "Because Derek's a victim too. And because I want Tommy to see that we don't punish children for their parents' mistakes." Derek cried when Robert explained the trust fund to him. "Uncle Harold still wants me to have a future, even though my mom tried to steal from him." "Derek, your uncle understands that you are being manipulated. He doesn't blame you for your mother's choices." "But I hurt Tommy. I was mean to him for months." "And now you're making different choices. That's what matters." The fake social media profile incident had lasting consequences at Derek's school. The administration implemented new policies about cyberbullying and parental involvement in student conflicts. Derek participated in restorative justice sessions, where he apologized to the students his mother had targeted. "I want you to know that the posts about you weren't real," Derek told one of his classmates. "My mom made them up to make me look better by comparison. That was wrong, and I'm sorry I let it happen." Derek's willingness to take responsibility for his part in the deception earned him respect from classmates who might otherwise have shunned him for his mother's behavior. Angela began supervised visitation with Derek after completing 6 months of intensive therapy. Their conversations were monitored by a family counselor who helped them rebuild their relationship on healthier foundations. "Derek, I need you to understand that I was wrong to ask you to compete with Tommy. Families should support each other, not tear each other down." "I know, Mom. I'm learning that with Dad and Uncle Harold. I'm proud of the young man you're becoming without my interference." Angela's transformation wasn't immediate or complete. She still struggled with accepting responsibility for the full scope of her manipulation. But her therapist reported genuine progress in recognizing how her actions had harmed both Derek and Tommy. Angela's beginning to understand that her fear about Derek's future led her to make choices that actually damaged his character development. She's working on rebuilding trust through consistent honesty rather than manipulation. Carl remarried a woman named Linda, who worked as a pediatric nurse. Linda had no history with our family drama and treated Derek simply as Robert's son who needed stability and kindness. "It's nice having adults around who just want me to be happy," Derek told Tommy during one of his visits. "Linda doesn't ask me to prove I'm better than other kids. She just asks about my homework and whether I want pancakes for breakfast." Tommy and Derek developed their own traditions during weekend visits. They built elaborate Lego cities together, watched superhero movies, and played video games without keeping score of who won more often. "Derek's really funny when he's not trying to be better than me," Tommy observed. "I like him much more when he's just being Derek." One afternoon, Tommy asked Derek directly about the basement incident. "Derek, were you really trying to hurt me that day?" Derek was quiet for a long time. "I was trying to make you look bad so Mom would think I was the better grandson. But when I heard you crying in there, I got scared. I tried to open the door, but it was stuck. I was actually relieved when your dad found us because I didn't know how to fix what I'd done." "So you didn't want me to get hurt?" "No, Tommy. I never wanted you to get hurt. I just wanted my mom to love me. But I learned that real love doesn't make you hurt other people to earn it." Derek started writing letters to Tommy between visits, sharing school experiences, and asking about Tommy's interests. The letters showed Derek developing his own voice separate from his mother's influence. "Tommy, I joined the school's peer mediation program. I'm learning how to help kids solve problems without anyone getting hurt. I think you'd be good at it too when you get to high school." Jessica surprised everyone by reaching out to support Derek during his transition. "Derek needs to see that adults can disagree about things without destroying each other," she explained. "Harold and I had our differences during the divorce, but we never tried to manipulate the children or turn them against family members." Jessica invited Derek to join Tommy for birthday celebrations and school events, treating him as an extended family member rather than as Angela's son. "Derek, you're welcome in our home anytime. What your mother did doesn't define who you choose to be." Derek's presence at family events helped Tommy understand forgiveness in action. Tommy watched Derek make consistent efforts to be kind and supportive, demonstrating that people could change their behavior patterns with effort and accountability. As Derek's 18th birthday approached, he asked to speak with me privately about his future plans. "Uncle Harold, I want to study social work in college. I want to help kids who are in situations like I was where adults are using them to hurt other people." "That's a meaningful goal, Derek. I also want you to know that I understand why you set up the trust fund the way you did. I need to prove that I can make good choices independently before I have access to serious money." "Derek, you've already proven that. The trust fund was never about punishment. It was about giving you opportunities while protecting you from anyone who might try to manipulate your finances. Like my mom did to you. Like your mom did to all of us." Derek graduated from high school with honors and earned a partial scholarship to a state university with a strong social work program. At his graduation party, he gave a speech that brought everyone to tears. "2 years ago, I thought being successful meant being better than other people. I thought family love was something you had to earn by proving your worth. I was wrong about everything. The people who really love you want you to be kind, honest, and happy. They don't ask you to tear others down to build yourself up." Derek looked directly at Tommy during his speech. "Tommy, thank you for forgiving me when I didn't deserve it. You taught me what real family looks like." Angela attended the graduation from a distance, having earned the right to supervised visits at special events. She sat quietly in the back, no longer trying to control the narrative or manage Derek's relationships. After the ceremony, Derek approached Angela carefully. "Mom, I want you to know that I'm proud of the work you've done in therapy. You're becoming the person I needed you to be when I was younger. Derek, I know I can't undo the damage I caused, but I'm grateful you're willing to give me the chance to be a better mother and person. I love you, Mom. I just love you differently now, without conditions or competition." Angela hugged her son with tears in her eyes. "I love you too, Derek. And I'm proud of the man you've become despite my failures." As I watched Derek embrace both his parents and then join Tommy for photographs, I realized that justice hadn't come through punishment or revenge. It had come through accountability growth and the patient work of rebuilding trust. Tommy, now 10 years old, had developed a wisdom about family relationships that impressed every adult around him. "Dad, I think people make mistakes because they're scared of not being loved enough. But when you know you're already loved, you don't have to hurt people to prove you deserve it." "Where did you learn that, buddy?" "From watching Derek change, and from watching you forgive people even when they hurt us." 6 months after Derek started college, Angela completed her probation requirements. She'd paid back 60% of the stolen money and maintained steady employment and therapy attendance. Her counselor recommended transitioning to monthly check-ins rather than weekly supervision. Angela asked to meet with Tommy and me to offer a formal apology. "Tommy, I know you don't remember everything that happened, but I want you to know that I asked Derek to be mean to you. That was wrong. Adults should protect children, not use them to hurt other children." Tommy listened carefully. "Miss Angela, are you a safe person now?" "I'm working very hard to be a safe person. I made really bad choices before, but I'm learning to make better ones." "Derek says you're nicer now when you visit him." "I'm trying to be the mom Derek needed instead of the mom I thought would make me look good." Tommy nodded solemnly. "I'm glad you're learning. Derek's really happy when he talks about visiting you." Angela turned to me. "Harold, I know a simple apology can't fix what I did to your family, but I want you to know that I understand now how wrong I was. You were supporting us financially while I was destroying your relationships and traumatizing your son. I betrayed every trust you placed in me. Angela, I appreciate your apology, and I can see that you're working to become a different person. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know that Derek talks about you with enormous respect and gratitude. He knows you could have cut him off completely, and instead you made sure he had opportunities for a good future. Derek's family, regardless of what happened between us. He's lucky to have you as an uncle. As we prepared to leave, Angela asked Tommy one more question. Tommy, do you think someday we might be able to have normal family dinners again? Like where people just enjoy each other's company without anyone trying to prove they're the most important? Tommy considered this seriously. I think that would be nice. But only if everyone promises to be kind and no one has to be better than anyone else. I promise to work toward that. Okay. But Derek has to be there too, because he's really good at noticing when people are being mean. Angela smiled the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in years. Derek is good at that. He's learned to recognize things I taught him to ignore. 3 years later, we did have that family dinner. Derek brought his college girlfriend Sarah, who knew the whole story, and admired Derek's commitment to breaking destructive family patterns. Angela brought her new boyfriend, Michael, a counselor who'd helped her understand healthy relationship dynamics. Tommy, now 13 and showing early signs of the teenager, he'd become facilitated conversation with remarkable emotional intelligence. So, Derek, tell everyone about your internship at the Children's Advocacy Center. Derek lit up. I'm working with kids who've been in foster care because their parents use them in custody battles or financial schemes. It's hard work, but I feel like I understand what they're going through. Because of what happened to you, yeah, I know what it feels like when adults make you choose sides or use you as a weapon against other family members. Sarah squeezed Derek's hand. Derek's really good with the kids. They trust him because he doesn't talk down to them or pretend their situations aren't serious. Angela watched her son with obvious pride, but it was a different kind of pride than before. She wasn't proud of Derek's accomplishments as a reflection of her parenting. She was proud of Derek's character as something he'd developed despite her interference. Derek, I'm proud of the work you're doing. Those children are lucky to have someone who understands their experiences. Thanks, Mom. I couldn't do this work if I hadn't learned to recognize manipulation and control. You taught me what unhealthy family dynamics look like, even if that wasn't your intention. I'm glad something positive came from my mistakes. Tommy raised his glass of soda. I want to make a toast to families that choose to be kind instead of competitive. We all raised our glasses. Derek added, to second chances and the people who believe in them. Angela added, to the children who forgave me when I didn't deserve it. I added, to the understanding that real strength comes from lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down. As we clinked glasses around that table, I thought about the journey that had brought us to this moment. We weren't the same family we'd been 3 years ago. We were something new built on honesty and accountability, rather than manipulation and fear. Tommy had grown up understanding that family relationships require conscious choice and consistent effort. Derek had learned that his worth wasn't dependent on diminishing others. Angela had discovered that real love doesn't require control or competition. And I had learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the opportunity to face the consequences of their actions and grow into a better person. The phone call that had shattered our family with 57 missed calls had ultimately led us to something stronger and more authentic than what we'd lost. When people ask me what I learned from that experience, I tell them this. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't in how loud you fight, but in how quietly you prepare to protect what matters most. Family isn't about blood or obligation or inheritance. It's about respect, love, and mutual support freely given and gratefully received. When people show you who they really are through their actions, believe them. But also remember that people can change when they face real consequences and choose growth over blame. The key is knowing the difference between someone who's genuinely committed to becoming better and someone who's simply sorry they got caught. Derek chose growth. Angela chose accountability. Tommy chose forgiveness. And I chose to believe that families, even broken ones, can be rebuilt on foundations strong enough to last. 3 years later, that choice had proven itself wise. Now I want to ask you something that I think about often after everything our family went through. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where family members expected you to compromise your children's well being to keep the peace? How do you balance loyalty to extended family with your responsibility to protect your own kids? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button to help others find it. And if you have family members who might benefit from hearing about the importance of accountability and growth, please share this with them. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about resilience, redemption, and the real meaning of family. Thank you for listening to our journey. I hope your own family relationships are filled with the kind of love that builds people up instead of tearing them down. Until next time, remember that the strongest families are the ones where everyone feels safe to be themselves without competing for affection or approval. Take care and choose kindness.